Very good evening to everyone, and thank you for being here till the very end of the conference, the last talk here. I'm Ankana. I'm from JNCASR Bangalore, and today I'll be talking about dispersal in subadult male Asian elephants in Nagarahole and Bandipur national parks, which is in the southern part of India. So dispersal is an important phenomenon that influences the fitness of animals, their demography, social dynamics, the genetic structure of the population. It was defined as the permanent movement that an individual makes from its birth site to the place where it reproduces or would have reproduced had it survived and found a mate. This early definition was later on categorized and distinguished into two types of dispersal. This definition fell under the purview of natal dispersal, and then there was another form of dispersal called breeding dispersal that involves the movement of animals from one breeding site to another, usually in the adult stage of their life. Before I progress into my talk, I want to clarify that the dispersal in my talk is only about natal dispersal. Natal dispersal can be shown by both the sexes, or it can be sex biased. ISEB and Van Buren in the 1996 proposed two modes of dispersal that's possible in mammals. One is called the locational dispersal, in which you see that an individual from a natal home range, when it disperses, moves to a completely new range altogether. The second form of dispersal is social dispersal, in which what you see is that the individual from the natal group moves to new unrelated groups while staying in the same natal home range. So our study species, which is the Asian elephants, they are the long-lived mega herbivores. We know that the females form matrilineal social units called clans that show fission-fusion dynamics. And it's also known that adolescent males gradually disperse from their natal clans as they become older to become solitary full-grown bulls in their adult age. In Asian elephants, locational dispersal of the males had previously been inferred based on genetic data. And in African savanna elephant, there's probably social dispersal as well, because inbreeding avoidance of their kin was shown by the males while they were in their own natal range. Whether Asian elephants are showing social dispersal is not yet known, and also how the process of dispersal is actually happening is not been previously examined because there's a lack of studies which involves identifying individuals and tracking them over a long period of time. So my objective here is two main questions. One was to see, do male Asian elephants show social dispersal in addition to locational dispersal that has been shown before, and the second was to see at what age do males start showing dispersal or show dispersal. For the study, the fieldwork has been conducted in Nagarahole and Bandipur national parks. That's in the southern part of India in the Nilgiri Eastern Ghat landscape, marked in red over here. It's part of a long-term Kabini elephant project, and we do our sampling in these two tiger reserves that's around the Kabini reservoir. The data used here is from 2009 till 2022, from data that is collected using whole day sampling or stratified types of sampling in these two ranges. In this data, we have individuals, elephants that are individually identified using natural physical characteristics like holes and tears in the ear shape, tail shape, backbone shape, and we also age and sex them based on their skull size, shoulder height, etc. Adult males are considered as adults above 15 years of age, and subadult males are the ones which are between 5 to 15 years of age. So moving to the first question, which was to see if social dispersal is there as well in males along with locational dispersal. We wanted to see if there are different patterns in the number of times that the subadult males are being seen in the study area as they are getting older. And the expectation here is that the males would be sighted less frequently if they were dispersing out as they're growing older. They would be seen more frequently as they're growing older in the given study area if they're dispersing into the place. Both would be indicating locational dispersal. And then we have another possibility where we would be seeing them consistently throughout the age. That would be indicating an absence of locational dispersal, but still the possibility of having social dispersal within the population. So for this, I have taken the data from the 14 years of the dry seasons of the 4 ranges that have been intensively sampled around the Kabini reservoir of the males which were seen between the ages of 5 to 15 years. The males selected were the ones which were seen at least for 15 days and at least for 4 years over the whole period, and if they were seen for multiple times in a day, I've only used 1 sighting per day. So we had 52 such focal subadult males, but for the graphs that I'll be showing here in the next slide, there are only 22 males selected because we had samples for them for all the 10 years from 5 to 15s. And the sampling days were 1,500 days of sampling, and the variable of interest was here to see how many times we are seeing them in each season, which was scaled by the sampling effort for the season and was plotted against the age. So if you see the individual trends for some individuals, you have on the y-axis how many times they're being seen scaled by the sampling effort, and on the x-axis the age of the individual from 5 to 15 years, the subadult age span. And you see that some individuals show a decline in the number of times they're being seen, and you also have some individuals which are showing no decline or somewhat a little bit of a positive increase. Overall, when you look at the mean trends, you have these two trends, one indicated here in the red, which is showing a decline over time with the age, which is possibly the set of males which are locationally dispersing out. And you also have another trend, which is showing no change at all or a slow decrease, which could be the individuals which are showing delayed locational dispersal or socially dispersed, social dispersal. The second was to see at what age males are dispersing. In this I had two questions. One was to see what is the change in the proportion of times that subadult males were seen with adult females versus without adult females, and the second was to see how the proportion of times the subadult males were seen with their own natal clans versus without their natal clans, with non-natal clans actually were changing with the age of the male. Here the expectation is that as the male is growing older, you would be seeing the male subadult males less frequently with adult female and with the natal clans, and more frequently alone or with non-natal clans. And what we found, before that I also want to say that in African savanna elephants, they had defined independence of a subadult male from the family as the age at which the male was sighted greater than 80% of time with individuals other than its natal clan, and they had observed that in their population the age was around 14 years. And previously in Asian elephants it was discussed that juvenile males are becoming independent and changing from their groups by the age of 4 to 5 years and slowly drift away from their clans by the age of 10 years. In our study population, we have also seen that adult non-musk males are associating with adult females to be in mixed sex groups for around 30% of their time. So we can define independence in our study population also at this cutoff, where if they reduce the amount of time they're spending with adult females to 30% or below, we can consider them as becoming independent. So what I've used the same time period of data, but the point to note here that the males here are taken with the ones who are for whom we only knew the natal clans, and we had 22 such males again. And the variable of interest here is the proportion of times that they were seen in these different categories. And that was compared with their age. So what we found was that as the males are growing older, the blue color is marked for the natal clans. You see that there is a significant decrease in the proportion of times that the subadult males were seen with the natal clans as they're becoming older. And there's also a significant increase in how much they're seen with non-natal clans as they're becoming older. Similarly, you see that when you compare it across with females and without females, how differently are you seeing them? There's a significant decrease in the number of times, in the proportion of times that you're seeing the subadult males with female, and an increase in the proportion of times you're seeing the subadults without female. To see the time at the age at which they are dispersing, using our cutoff for 30% of time being spent with adult females, we see that around the age of 14 to 15, the males seem to have finished their dispersal, as they can be considered to be adult, like behaving like adult male at this point of time. And if you compare it with the criteria that Lee et al. Had used for the African elephants as well, to reduce the percentage of time spent with natal clans to 20%, the age for our population also seems to be the same, that is around 14 to 15 years. In terms of when do they start dispersing, if you look at this curve of decrease in the proportion of time seen with natal clan, we see that at the age of 7 years, there's a sharp decline, and this is probably the age at which the males are probably starting to disperse. And we also see that there is a similar thing happening in the age of 10 to 11 years as well. This is something that I need to further analyze to understand if there are differences in the male behavior of the males in terms of how they're dispersing at different part of their subadult life. So to conclude, what we see is that there are two types of trends that were seen in the temporal patterns of the sightings of subadult males in our study area. One was indicating locational dispersal by dispersing out. The other was indicating social dispersal or delayed locational dispersal. So there might be social dispersal in addition to locational dispersal in our study population. We also saw that there's a decrease in in how often subadult males were seen with females and with their natal clans as they're becoming older, and that they're probably starting to disperse at 7 to 8 years of age by slowly moving away from their natal clans, and finish dispersal at around 14 to 15 years, given that they're behaving like adult males in terms of the proportion of sightings that you see of them with adult females. So I want to thank all the funding agencies for the grant and the fellowship for this work. Karnataka Forest Department, very essential for the permits to do all these long-term projects. The Forest Department staff for the assistance in the field work, several people in the field from the very beginning who have been there for the help. Krishna Chaitanya for helping me with the code, and ISEB for giving me this opportunity to come here and talk about my work here. Thank you.